public, mayor and council, and also our visiting attorneys. We're taking a little different approach that you probably are used to. We're just having, what we would like is each firm to have an opportunity to just, present yourselves, talk about your credentials, where you guys are located, anything you might want to add. And then we're going to allow after each presentation, allow the public to ask any questions. And we'll do that, we'll do a question and answer for a little bit. Then after that, we'll go into the next presentation from the next firm and so forth and so on. And then the council, towards the end, depending on how long it takes, the council then will go into closed session, and then we have some questions that we formulated, and then we can ask, you guys won't all be in at the same time under closed session. You would be individually interviewed, and then we'll go from there, okay? So with that, the first firm that we would like to present tonight is a presentation by White-Brenner LLP. And if you can just make your way up to the podium here, and there's a microphone should be on, and then just present yourself for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the record, my name is Doug White. I'm the first name partner in White-Brenner. Along with me is someone I've been friends with since the time I had hair, Tom Hallinan. So he's known me a really long time, dating back into a bunch of fun stuff that we've done locally. I'm going to go a little bit about the firm history real quick, try my best to get done in 15 minutes, and then we'll kind of introduce each of ourselves and our credentials. There is one other individual that's on our team that we presented, Nubia Goldstein. She is visiting family in Colombia. It was a little hard to change those plans given all the circumstances that goes into traveling these days. So she sends her regards and best, but she's thinking of us from Colombia. But she's there and she's part of our team. So White-Brenner's been around for almost 10 years now. It was formed largely by a bunch of attorneys who were working in big law firms. So I worked at Greenberg Traurig. At the time I was there, it's the 15th largest firm in the world. Barbara Brenner was at Stoll Reeves. Randy Pollock was also at Greenberg Traurig. And then subsequently, Deborah Henshaw Vieira was at Littler Mendelsohn on the labor and employment side. So we kind of came through and we each had our own little niche, including Tom, who lives locally in Ceres, that we kind of fulfilled. So my role was more on the real estate land use side, kind of pretty strong on the entitlements, things of that nature. I used to do a lot of major home builders down in Southern California and Santa Monica in the Bay Area. And so that was kind of my background that I brought in. But I was born in Modesto, grew up in Los Banos. I'm going to date myself. I used to work as an intern in Rusty Reyes' office. And so, so I'm from, so I'm a Stanislaus Merced guy, which is probably one of the reasons in Tom's relationships that our firm is, so prominent in kind of Stanislaus and Merced County. So we represent 6 of the 9 cities in Stanislaus County, and we still continue to represent Atwater and other communities in Merced County. But that being said, our firm is a statewide firm. We are based in Sacramento. We're located directly next to the League of California Cities. Like there's about 6 inches that separates our building. But we have clients all the way from San Diego area all the way up to the Oregon border. We currently have active over 50 county cities that we represent, and some of the stuff that we've done, most notably is the litigation against the Bureau of Cannabis Control recently, where we were fighting to protect local control and what was ultimately promised when that proposition was passed in terms of local control of cannabis and what comes in and out and is sold in the communities. We should have a good press release coming out next week that we're excited about. But that was done in coordination with the League of California Cities. I've also served on the board of the Municipal Law Handbook as one of the editors in the section, things of that nature. The firm, we've kept it small. We don't want to have a whole bunch of satellite offices. That's not our model. The people who are before you are the people who you're going to always deal with. And you can call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and some of them do, particularly when the newspaper comes out at 3 o'clock in the morning if there's an interesting article that's in there. I think what makes us different, we're probably one of the only law firms that maintains a lobbying presence in Sacramento. Almost everybody who's worked for our firm has worked either in the state legislature. I was a chief of staff for an assembly member and was a lobbyist for the California Bankers Association before I started practicing. Or in the alternative, they worked for a state regulatory agency. So Nubia worked also in the state legislature. Tom, as he'll tell you, kind of worked in one of the regulatory agencies. So that's the background we bring in. I think one of the assets that has is we're constantly in the Capitol, and our kids go to school with regulators, and so you find out more. You find out information. You have a little bit more readily access to that kind of information. Kind of when you're dialed in. Our office is about a block and a half, 2 blocks away from the Capitol, and so I think that's something that makes us different. I think we have the best jobs in the world because we get to fulfill that political itch without having to be in the lovely seats that you all sit in. So with that, I'll let Tom introduce himself, and hopefully we'll stay on time.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, so I'm the local guy. I didn't work for any of those big firms. I worked for my dad's firm over in Oakdale, established in 1923, and we've done nothing but represent small local governmental agencies in Stanislaus, Merced County, and up in the foothills. So I've done it for 27 years, about a dozen agencies, and it's my life's work. You know, my personal life changes, but the one thing that stays the same is my work, and my work is cities and special districts. I'm going to say one thing that I think that sets us out. I know you guys like to get right to the point. You know, a lot of lawyers are very conservative. Oh, you can't do that because of this and that. And we view our job as you want to do something, we're going to do everything that we can to get you to that goal. Now, we're not going to let you do anything you shouldn't do, but we're also not going to run scared. I think that's a big difference with us and other local government firms that I deal with. Again, I'm a local guy. This is what I do, and I want to do it for you. And let's just get right to folks' questions, if that's all right with you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'll bring it back to council for any questions, and then we'll open up for public comment, public questions. Council, do you guys have any initial questions at this time?
We got the hot seat to start it off. So.
Okay. So I'll take it out for public comment, see if anybody out in the audience wants to ask any questions to our first group.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, all the representatives from law firms. It's great to see a large number turn out that gives city right choices. You know, thank you. I don't have a particular question for or regarding this law firm, and I kind of missed a couple of minutes of the initial presentation. But one thing, if they can kind of when they tell about their firm, maybe they can tell what kind of in-house expertise that they do have, because as we know, sometimes cities have unique requirements. Sometimes we may have an issue with, workers' comp or personal matters or water issues. It may be helpful to know if they have in-house expertise, or does the city have to go out and look for another firm? So that might be helpful. Thank you.
So generally speaking, there's nothing in our firm's bandwidth attorneys that you guys are going to need that we won't be able to service. So most of the stuff that's going to come up through insurance is going to go through risk management, or you have some kind of insurance carrier. We don't do workers' comp, but you have workers' compensation insurance, and you're going to have folks that they're going to appoint. The risk management litigation cases are going to get picked up by your carriers. Again, you don't really have to worry about the tax issues. I mean, you're not on the coast, so we don't need help on the Coastal Commission. So, we don't have to worry about that. So there's nothing that's going to come up that we haven't done. And I can say that because we represent, like, a lot of people all around you with very similar issues. We've represented Turlock, we've represented Atwater, we represent, 6 of the 9 cities in Stanislaus County. The issues that you have are the ones that we're dealing with in every day. On the ground, and I come from a dairy family. I mean, I know what it's like to live in this community. I mean, I grew up in Los Banos. It's there's a lot of similarities. So, with that, I feel very confident that there's nothing that we won't be able to handle that you'll come up with. That doesn't mean that we don't use independent investigators for employment issues, issues where maybe having a different perspective comes, whether it compromises you in negotiations or down the road or something, that there are certain circumstances that with council's buy-in, we would bring in, folks that come in. Again, I think one of the last things to kind of dovetail onto that. List our specialties. So I'm a land use area, so I'm land use real estate attorney. Transactional side, leaning kind of crossover with Barbara Brenner over at CEQA. Barbara Brenner kind of takes over from CEQA, does natural resources, environmental law, water law. We're working on the GSAs in the area, things of that nature. Tom, gets really involved with litigation pitches, day-to-day, general municipal type stuff. Nebia Goldstein does a lot of our litigation, code enforcement stuff, because, a lot of us had to deal with a lot of cannabis grow houses lately and kind of things related to that. We would deal with that as well as kind of like the different levels of entitlement. Deborah Hinshaw Vieira it does our labor and employment, as well as Aaron Durbin, who kind of has a specialty subset in public safety, specifically issues with, obviously police and fire. So there's really no issue that we don't cross over. We have online portal for free training for anybody who wants to do it. We don't charge for that. Prints out the certificates, gets you in compliance with AB 1234. We have a task manager system that people can log into if they want and check and see what tasks are in the queue and when the return time is. Some of that's obviously confidential. But council members can have access to that, as well as directors and staff. So we try to stay pretty ahead of the curve and technology-wise as well. I think COVID's helped that. We kind of had to double down and get even better at it. So we tried to take the positives that we can from the last year. But again, pretty much everything that you have, and we're all kind of ingrained with this government agricultural background. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from the public at this time?